Welcome to the Backyard Bouquet Podcast, where stories bloom from local flower fields and home gardens. I'm your host, Jennifer Gulizia of the Flowering Farmhouse. I'm a backyard gardener turned flower farmer located in Hood River, Oregon. Join us for heartfelt journeys shared by flower farmers and backyard gardeners. Each episode is like a vibrant garden, cultivating wisdom and joy through flowers. From growing your own backyard garden to supporting your local flower farmer, the Backyard Bouquet is your fertile ground for heartwarming tales and expert cut flower growing advice. All right, flower friends, grab your gardening gloves, garden snips, or your favorite vase because it's time to let your backyard bloom. Today on the Backyard Bouquet Podcast, I'm excited to welcome Madison Milgard from CF Greens, one of the largest flower farms in the United States. CF Greens has a rich history as a family-run farm, and their story highlights the intersection of scale, sustainability, and the future of floriculture. Madison brings a unique perspective, not only representing such a significant player in our industry, but also offering insights that are valuable to farmers of every size. From sustainability practices to industry leadership, I know you're going to walk away inspired. Madison, welcome to today's show. To get started, could you tell our listeners who you are and what your role is with CF Greens?
Well, it's nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me on, Jennifer. I'm Madison. I am the Vice President of Brand and Market Strategy at Continental Floral Greens, which I'm very proud to say is our family-owned and operated business. We just had our 10th anniversary last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been with the company now it's been 4.5 years, and I had an interesting start because I was always a little hesitant to work at the family company and wasn't sure if that's what I wanted to do for my career. And I was living in New York City at the time, and I had just left my job with a big retailer there in the fashion world. And I started just with a small job at Continental Floral Greens, just doing their social media and feeling out how that was. And it was only part-time. And then now today I'm the vice president of brand and market strategy. So it's been a journey, but I love being able to work alongside my dad in our family business. And I just feel that there's so much more value in that than working for, another company when I have the opportunity to work for our family-owned business. So
thank you for sharing that. Well, CF Greens is a US-based flower farm, but you're very different than what we think of as most flower farms. Can you tell us a little bit about CF Greens and what your flower farm looks like?
Yeah, I think it's kind of important to start where it started. So in 2009, my dad bought a farm up and next to Mount St. Helens in Washington State. And he was always really passionate about forestry and farming. And he had grown up in high school working in forests and cutting boughs and cutting trees. So he had experience in forestry, and he just loved nature and the outdoors. And so when he bought that property, it was more of just a passion project that they were hoping to just do a little bit of Christmas product and to own the property. I mean, his intention was to always have it in our family forever, to have it for generations and for our kids to go to. And we're very blessed because it's the most beautiful property right on the monuments lines. So you look right at where the volcano blew up. And then if you turn around, you look right over at Rainier. So it's just a stunning property with a bunch of noble trees up there. And the volcano blew up in 1980. So there were no trees around when that volcano blew up when my parents were kids. And then Weyerhaeuser, which is a big forestry company up there, they replanted the whole property and they replanted it with noble fir. And so noble fir is kind of our signature product up there. And it's just a beautiful product that's used for wreaths and garlands and centerpieces. And so we really started our business with that Christmas side. And then you kind of fast forward to 2014 is when my dad was really introduced to Continental Wholesale Florist, who at the time was based in Antonio, Texas. And it was a big floral company and mostly did floral greenery across the United States. And we ended up acquiring them. And then that's where, our 10th anniversary comes in. So we've been around for 10 years as Continental Floral Greens. And we really focused on floral greenery and niche products. And that's really important to us, is making sure that we're not growing anything that could be grown in Colombia or Ecuador, and that we're kind of finding, a place where that there's no products, and where we can kind of find a marketplace for ourselves. And so those evergreens can only be grown at that elevation on our farm in Washington. So that product is very special for Christmas. And then we also focus on things like flowering branches out of Oregon, which is a great niche product grown in January and February. And then we also have peonies and butterfly ranunculus. So we are getting into some floral products, but only if they fit kind of that mission of having a niche product that is from farm to market. And we sell directly to our customers, which are wholesalers and mass market customers. So that's, grocery across the United States. We do not sell directly to consumer, and we don't currently sell directly to florists either.
Okay. So like Mayesh or Frank Adams or a grocery store chain would be your customer base.
Yes. Yeah. Those are our customer base.
I love that you said you have found this niche market that you don't have to worry about competing with the imported flowers because they can't grow what you're growing.
Yeah. And I think Dahlias is a really good example of that because it's a new test product that we did this year that we're super excited about. And Dahlias can't really be grown in Colombia or Ecuador, and because it's such a fragile product that for it to be shipped, it just doesn't really work and doesn't grow well because it has to have, as you know, kind of a little bit of that frost and colder weather. And so we started that in Washington and on our Oregon farms. We kind of did 2 little test patches. And we also found that there weren't a lot of really large scale commercial growers in the Pacific Northwest. So we kind of had an advantage with that test to be a regional provider there for the product. And so we've been really testing that out and mostly sending it to those regional partners because, as you know, they don't ship super well across the United States. So we're kind of targeting that area for now. But that's kind of an example of a product where we really looked at the marketplace and we're like, okay, obviously there are dahlias in the marketplace, but they're not shipped at the national scale. And even at the regional scale, there's not really enough to supply grocery stores with a lot of the product. And then we partner with In-Flora Genetics or In-Flora Cut Flowers. And they had a new genetic line called the Design line. And these genetics are supposed to help the dahlias last longer because typically they don't have a super long vase life. And so we're testing this new product with them, and we're one of the biggest. They gave us most of the plugs. So we're kind of that first true partner with them to test out the product to see how it goes. And it's been great so far. But of course, there's a lot of challenges trying out a new product and seeing how it fits in the marketplace and learning how to ship it and package it correctly. So it's been a big learning curve for us there.
Wait a minute here. You just said there's a new product for dahlias. It's a plug that your company brought in this year. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So it's with In-Flora. They have these new genetics they've been working on over in Holland because they have their Karma series, which some people are pretty familiar with, is out in the marketplace. But they have this new one called the Design series, and that one it's around like 8 different color options and varieties that we're testing. And so they're also learning with us. They've been coming out to our farms and seeing how the product's doing because, we're the first person to really grow it at this scale so they can see how well they do. And they're like, oh, okay, like we both decided like maybe we're not a fan of how the whites are growing because they're not growing super well in the climate or lasting as long as they thought. So that's kind of the new product that they were introducing and that we were lucky to partner with them on.
Okay, I have so many questions about this for you that I didn't know I was going to be asking today because I'm so curious. I have been growing their Karma series this year, and I'm finding that some of them aren't cut flowers for us either. But I'm curious. First question is, you said at a large scale. What quantifies a large scale for you? How many dahlias are you growing this year?
So we were very surprised. Like when you first plant, you don't really know how much it's going to produce, especially for dahlias, because there's so many different blooms. So I think we had kind of assumed that it'd be around 7 or around 5, but now we're getting 7 off of the stem. So we're producing a lot more than we were expecting. So it's a couple 100,000 stems that we can sell out to customers. So it's quite a lot for that first
per week,
what we call a test. No, in total, I think it'll be close to like 350,000 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot, but for us, like that, you have to have a test that's at least to enough scale that you can actually see how it's going to work in the marketplace versus doing kind of like a smaller test plot. That is just to test how it grows. But it was really helpful because our Oregon operation, which is in Forest Grove, it's right outside of Portland. That's where a lot of our fun specialty products are grown. They have the most stuff that comes out of there, and our team there is so amazing, and they've worked really hard to grow our peony program. In the spring, we sell a lot of peonies. And so they've done a really good job with our floral products and being really quick on their feet and learning quickly how to change the packaging and how to deal with post-harvest care. And so they have so much experience with that, that when we went in and did the test with them, they did a great job helping it really go well in that first year. So I think having all that experience helped us to have a successful test.
Wow. Okay. How many dahlia plants are you growing with your farms?
Oh, I don't know if I can tell you. We have to keep that a secret, I think.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot, though. How many acres do you have planted? Is that?
I don't actually know the exact acreage either, so we'll both be as a mystery to both of us.
Okay. What about your acreage for your Forest Grove farm? How big is that one?
It's around, I think, 300 or 400 acres.
Oh, wow. It's a huge space.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
are
a
you
big
guys
space.
utilizing the whole space?
Yeah, we use all of it, and we kind of have some test areas, and there's a lot of different products across that farm. Like we have a really big field of ilex, and we have these really, beautiful greenhouses that have spirea and peonies, and we have forsythia in one of the other fields. So we're always kind of rotating them out. One of the products that's been there for a long time, and the old owners, was called Oregon Roses, and they were really focused on roses and American grown roses, which, as we know, the rose industry has been kind of pushed out of the U.S. It's pretty hard to grow roses here with the competition in Colombia and Ecuador. But when they sold it over, and they still actually live on the property, so we get to say hi to them. But they grew roses, and they had boxwood. So they had a bunch of these beautiful boxwood rose that they would put into a bouquet, like a mixed with roses and boxwood. And then they grew their own species as trademarked called Oregonia, which has a really beautiful variegation around the leaf on the boxwood. And so we have a lot of roses of those, and that product does really well and is just a staple throughout the year. We use it in a lot of our manufactured products too. So in garlands and wreaths and centerpieces. So those are just some of the fun products in Oregon.
That's amazing. That's a huge property when you think about scale size, when most of our listeners are probably growing on a quarter acre or less. I want to go back to the dahlias. Hopefully you can answer this question for me. You mentioned that the trial is to see if you can get the dahlias to last longer. We all know that dahlias are not traditionally a long-lasting flower, but they're so pretty. How long a vase life are you getting with these trials?
So instead, I think that the regular dahlias, they say like 7 to 10 days is the average. And they're expecting to be able to add around like 5 more days to that time once it's in a vase. And that it can kind of hold longer in a cooler too. But we're really having to test it out because it can be climate dependent. It can be dependent too on how well you're doing that post-harvest care. So an example of that, in the Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, we make sure that we are only cutting it right in the morning when it's the coolest, and then you're immediately bringing it to the cooler and putting it in water. And so like those little details really matter too, to extend the life of the product. So I think there's still a lot of learning for us for in flora as well, and just testing and seeing how this product holds up between all the different stages, because you have to take it from the field, it sits in the coolers, and then it gets shipped, and then the customer has it. And it's also dependent too on how they're handling the product. So if they're immediately putting it in a cooler, if they are cutting it and hydrating it. So there's a lot of variabilities with how well it lasts. But for right now, we are seeing, good quality and that they are lasting long. So we hope that we can get some true data and be able to speak to that with customers too. A
That
little more
is
confidently
amazing.
next year.
That would be so promising for the dahlia industry.
Yeah. And they should be available too for everyone to buy. So they're not exclusive to us.
Okay, that's good to know. So do you go straight through in flora, or do you have?
Yeah.
You do.
In flora
Okay.
cut flowers. Yeah.
I was not familiar with them before, so thank you for sharing that. It's always interesting because, like, I had our CSA pickups the other week, and I always ask my customers, "How did your dahlias hold up last week?" And the first person, she was like, "Not that well." And I was thinking, "Oh no," but it was 100-degree week. So, of course, the dahlias are going to struggle depending on how long you left them out of water between the farm and your house. We always wrap them in a biodegradable wrap. But still, if it's hot, or if their kitchen's hot, if someone doesn't have air conditioning, And then the next person came and I said, how'd your bouquet hold up? And they said, we still have our dahlias. And it's day 8 now because it's been a week.
Yeah.
And they're like, I put them into 2 more bouquets. I cut the stems. And so it's so much is variable when you
Yeah, it
send them
is.
out into the world.
Yeah, one of the learning things that we just had happen. So we've been sending everything mostly wet pack. So it goes, in the bucket to the customer, and it's typically in a cooler during that entire chain. We have not been sending them out dry pack to anyone, which normally we only do that for samples or sending sponsorships. So with a few influencers I work closely with, I sent them a few boxes of dahlias, really asking for their honest feedback so we could learn what's the best way to send them dry pack so it holds really well, and so that if we're sending samples to a customer, they open them and they obviously you want them to look beautiful and be at their best. So the first times that we were sending them, we were packing them, I think, a little too tightly, and then we were using plastic, and we kept seeing that the plastic was holding moisture in the box and that was starting to damage the dahlias. And so with the next one that we sent out, we switched it over to paper and then did less of them inside of the box, and they looked incredible. There was a huge difference between the two. So I think that there's so much room for learning, and that I think what we've learned is for asking for that feedback from our customers and from influencers or family and friends is it's super helpful for improving your product and how it's presented and how they open it. So I definitely encourage doing that too when you're testing things.
That's great advice. Now, I know you can't share how many you're growing, but with the large scale that you're growing, is your team digging and dividing them every year, or do you start fresh every year?
We probably have to start fresh. I would say, especially with this test too, and like trying to figure out the best balance for the soil. And it's so different too between the Washington location where we're growing some and between Oregon, just in the weather and how cold it is. It really can affect how that grows. So I think we will end up doing it fresh next year.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
sometimes too, for the labor, it can cost more to dig it up versus buying new. So we also have to kind of choose that balance as well.
Totally. It's a very manual process to dig that many dahlias,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, so you've mentioned your Oregon and Washington location. CF Greens is the largest American flower farm. I assume that means you have a couple other locations besides Oregon and Washington.
Yes. Yes, we do. So out of Washington, it's mostly wild harvested product and evergreens that is grown on our farms. And then Oregon, you have all those beautiful fall products and specialty products. And then when we get down into California, we have a location in Watsonville, California. It's one of our older locations. And some farms around that area, in like Orosi and Kingsburg, which is a few hour driving between the few of them. And then one of the newer ones is Willow Creek, California, which used to be owned by Sun Valley Floral Farms, which some people are familiar with. And Willow Creek is so beautiful. And that's where we grow a lot of ilex, which Lane DeVry is known as kind of a legend in the industry for perfecting the genetics of ilex. And so we have his original ilex there. So it's just the most beautiful crop. And like the branches are bending over from how many berries are on them. It's so stunning. And so like Catinus and Snowball Viburnum and Rose Hips. So kind of still that specialty product at Willow Creek. And over in Watsonville, obviously a lot of eucalyptus, which is very common to the California farms. And we recently partnered with Kendall Farms too on a location with more eucalyptus. And so really those California specialty products. And butterfly ranunculus, we just started growing there. And then brassica is a new one for us. The ornamental cabbage is coming on out of there. And then we have some big farms over in Florida and kind of the fern country. So that's more of your tropical products. And some of my favorites are like spring rye and plumosis. So you have a lot of those flowing, beautiful products there. And of course, your staples like leatherleaf and sword fern. And then nagai is one of our favorites there too. A lot of acres of nagai. And then our commercial office is in Miami. So we ship a lot of stuff out of there, but obviously no farms down in Miami. And then we have some farms that we're working on in North Carolina, mostly as tests. That's a big distribution facility for us and manufacturer for some of our Christmas products to East Coast customers.
Wow.
So that's kind of an overview of all of them. They're spread out, but yeah.
Do you know how many acres in total you steward as a company?
So there's different acres that we steward too. So our tree farm is the biggest. That's 10,000 acres. So it's very large, and that's actually small if you start comparing it to true timber companies. But just for our boughs, I mean, it's millions of pounds of boughs coming off that farm a year. And I would just say hundreds of acres probably across all of our other locations. Um, so it's a big operation, but we have them spread out in those key locations, which I think is a huge benefit to us because we have product available year round and a lot of different products. So we offer, over 100 varieties between all of those different farm locations. And it's super helpful for logistics too, because we have, East Coast presence and West Coast presence. It makes it pretty easy to ship to our customers, to make that easier for them.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, when you said you have your distribution centers, is all of your products staying in the US or do you ship internationally?
We do ship internationally. We one of our biggest products for that is like obviously products too. When you're shipping internationally, there's a time crunch and a ticking time bomb. You're trying to get rid of it as quickly as you can because it has such a short time that it can stay alive. And most of the time, you're having to ship it by air if you're shipping it over to Europe. But for us, our wild harvested products, which would be salal, beargrass, huckleberry, that's all out of the Pacific Northwest. Those products can last in a cooler for 6 months. We do
Oh
not
my
have them in
gosh.
a cooler for that long, but that is how long that product can last and still look beautiful when you take it out. So that product is perfect for shipping over to Europe because it can be sent in a container and doesn't have to be shipped by air. So we do send a lot of product out to them, and we're hoping to get more into the international markets. But it's definitely, a balance with those logistics for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I know your family story highlights sustainability as one of your core values. Since we're talking about shipping and stuff, let's talk about what sustainability means for CF Greens. How do you bring that to your day to day life and business as such a large scale flower farm?
Yeah, that's it's a really good question. It's, sustainability has been the heart of our operations. And, a quote from my dad that I love to use is that when you plant a tree, you're making 100-year long business decision. So we have the mindset that we're going to own this business for generations. So, you're treating every acre like you own it. And I feel like that culture is really spread down for every employee in the company is if you take care of the land, it gives back to you. So by using better, fertilizers or tilling less or using better packaging, it's the life cycle of the product. And I think that it's really important to care about those things, but it can be really hard to care about those things and to know the right way to do it because what we've discovered and what is pretty true of being sustainable in a company is that you are prioritizing profit. Most of the time it is cheaper to be sustainable, especially in the long term. So an example of that is one of the things that we use for packaging when we send to customers. We were always using wax cardboard boxes for our evergreen product because it's very heavy and it's very moist when it's in the box, so you can't put it in regular cardboard. Well, the bad thing about wax cardboard is it's not recyclable. So when you have them, people just have to throw them out. And you'd use these huge staples to, smash the cardboard down, and it's super hard to open. And then you had to just throw it in the trash. So that is obviously not very sustainable. And so we're always looking for an alternative. And when we ended up finding it at one of our trade shows, it was a company that has recyclable plastic. So it's a box that is much, much easier to open for the customer. And then on the marketing side, we love it because we can really easily put like a printed photo on the box to make it really pretty for Christmas. And it's way more sustainable because it's recyclable. The customer can reuse the box again if they needed to. It's easier for them to use, and it was around the same price. So in the long run, that's pretty impactful to switch all of those wax boxes if you think about how many were used and thrown out.
Okay, thank you for that example. That's fascinating. I never even really thought about it that way. So I'm sure you have so many decisions to make in terms of sustainability with so many different diverse growing areas across the country, too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as long as you put it as a priority that you guys are always talking about with your team members? We found that a lot of our team members have innovated for sustainability because we encourage that conversation too among each other. So they often come and are like, "Hey, there's this better company that we can use for spray out of Florida, and it's actually cheaper too, and it's better for the product and better for our employees and for their safety and health when they're using the product." And for a while, it was really just a part of our culture as a company, and now we've taken the initiative. I started a sustainability committee. So it just makes it a little bit more formal. And we only really meet once a quarter to discuss the projects that we're working on, but it kind of works as a collaborative space in our company for everyone to bring forward new ideas they have, to talk about projects that they're currently working on that are sustainable. And then we joined a group. It's called Sustainabloom. I don't know if you're
Yes.
familiar with it. Yes. And AFE started it, and we helped them get started around 2 years ago. I'm a board member with them. And they are a really, really great resource for every part of the industry, whether you're a wholesaler, a floral grower, a florist, and they just have a lot of resources and ways to look into how to be more sustainable and how to save money and how to really tackle one issue at a time. Because I think it can be overwhelming when you look at the bigger picture. But if you just focus on trying to make one change a year, or a quarter, then it could be really impactful in the business for the long term too.
I love that. You said AFE. For those that are not familiar, that stands for
The American Flower Endowment.
Thank you. And they're the ones that funded and started Sustainabloom. Is that correct?
Yes, they did. Yeah, it's a part of AFE, which is a nonprofit organization. They have a lot of education and resources too for everyone in the industry. They're amazing and have been around a long time.
Thank you for sharing that. I imagine with such a large scale operation that you have to have a lot of technology and innovation as well to make
Yes,
things run efficiently.
yes, you definitely do. Technology is hard in our industry. I would say that the floral industry is a little behind in technology, especially in the US. Because I feel like I'm always seeing those videos of the farms in Europe, and they have these beautiful greenhouses and all these different machines to carry the hydrangeas and cut the flowers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those look so beautiful. And it seems like we're a little bit behind. But I think that's one of the things that we're really trying to invest in. Like, technology for us is machinery. And that's not machinery, and you have this machine that's picking the flowers for you and doing everything, but it's the little things. It's putting in a conveyor belt that just helps speed up the production and to make it easier on the employee and the actual physical labor that they do if they're putting together a bouquet or carrying the product from one place to another. And so that's been pretty important for us to do slowly over time. It's a lot of money to invest in that, but I think you just prioritize making those small changes, and it's really changed, how much we can produce too. So an example is with Christmas. We have kind of two different ways that you can make a wreath. One of them is hand tying it. So the person is holding the wreath and they're hand tying it, and it's pretty physically exhausting to do, but it looks so beautiful. And then we have these cramps. There is this machine, like a little metal like claw that comes out of the table. And while you're making the wreath, you use that, where this little metal claw is kind of helping you to tie the wreath. So it's a little bit less physically tiring to make, which is better for the employee, and it's quicker too to make that type of wreath. But if I were to look at both wreaths side by side, you could tell that the hand tied one is a little bit prettier in the quality. And so we do obviously let customers know that, and they know the difference between the two of them. But that's kind of an example of something you could use to make it easier for wreath production. And it also helps us to be dependent on less labor, because as you might face this issue as well, is it's very, very difficult to get farm labor in the US. And we have farms and locations in a bunch of different states, and it doesn't matter what state you're in. It's very, very hard to get people to work in our industry. So we're pretty dependent on H-2B labor for our Christmas season, when we have a huge rise in harvesting and production that we have to do during that season.
Is that your biggest season?
Yes, I would say that's our biggest season of the year, which, typically for most people it's Valentine's Day. But for us, because we started in the evergreen business, Christmas is our biggest time of the year. So it's kind of our Super Bowl, and we are in it right now as when it starts, if you could believe it.
Wow. So it starts, we're recording this middle of September. So you're
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
working on Christmas.
Yes, we are already working on Christmas. And again, we're so lucky with evergreens because they hold up so well. Even when you're cutting them now, you can use them a year from now for samples.
Wow.
We never have any in inventory to do that with, but we'll put aside a bin every Christmas so we can use it for samples for people when it's outside of the Christmas season and it still looks as though you just picked it. So it's a very resilient product.
Wow. I assume when you pick it, it goes into a cooler. So you're holding it in a
Yes.
cooler. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, I picture like when people leave their Christmas tree on this side of their yard and it just turns all brown after a little bit. So they should just put their tree
That
in
would happen.
their fridge. Everyone has a big fridge and they could leave their tree for the next year, right?
Yes, if you could put it in a cooler, it would last for the next year for you.
I'd love to see someone try that. Do you sell Christmas trees also, or is it just the wreath making material and
We
greenery?
do. We do actually sell Christmas trees. Not the typical size that you're maybe thinking for a living room, but little tabletop trees, for families who might have an apartment and can't do a full size tree, or maybe they just want it on a table for, setting like a dining setting, and you just have a little tree on the table. So we kind of call them our Charlie Brown Christmas trees because they're naturally grown. So they're not, we're not making rows of Christmas trees like you normally picture a Christmas tree farm. On the farm in Mount St. Helens, I mean, it grows like grass. There are baby trees everywhere that just nature grows for us. So that's kind of fun and different too, and how we harvest those little baby Christmas trees.
That's amazing. It would be so fun to come and see one of your operations around the holidays. I bet there's so much greenery. It
Well,
was
it
our
is chaotic too.
I bet. It was our first cold morning today. And my daughter was like, I'm ready for my chai tea latte. She gets a decaf chai. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it is starting to feel like the weather is really shifting right now.
I know. I feel Christmas in the air and fall. I'm excited.
I started getting emails. We're recording on a Monday morning and I'm opening my inbox and it's like, Christmas holiday deals are here. And I'm like, what? I still have my dahlias to enjoy.
I know. Yeah, retailers just earlier and earlier, it feels like they're starting to put out product for these holidays, Thanksgiving included.
Totally. Um, I know I've heard a little bit in the news that people are estimating it's going to be a tougher year for Christmas with like retail sales. Have you noticed any dip in the floral industry, or are you predicting any changes?
Um, I would say that we have not, seen any indicators of that this year so far. For us, we're really lucky, I feel, just in the floral industry as a whole, because we're a little bit resistant to economic downturns because people are always having to go to grocery stores and events typically always happen. Even if they slow a little bit, people are still having weddings and celebrations and birthdays and funerals. And so I would say we're a little resilient through those times, which is really helpful. And then for us, for our product, I mean, we don't really see any downturn because the competition, I mean, we're the only growers of a lot of our product too. So that's really helpful when it comes to these seasons. I mean, for right now, the way that it seems for Christmas is that it's going to be our best year yet. So we're hoping that that's the case for everyone too. So
That's amazing. Well, I feel like everyone just needs a little bit of joy right now. And I think flowers, like I've
yes,
noticed more people coming and treating themselves to a bouquet at the farm. Just, I need something to brighten my day to day.
yes,
And I
yeah.
think people are hungry for that with everything going on in the world. What are some of the challenges that maybe are unique to having a large scale farm that a small scale flower farmer might not even think of? Like, what are some of the,
Mm.
are there any examples of something that you guys struggle with that would be easy on a small scale farm?
Mm. I think that a lot of issues we face, every business faces, and we were a small business once too, and are still growing and learning, and the labor issues that we face, even though they might be at larger scale, is still labor issues that we're all facing. Same with if you're, buying hard goods or anything for production, tariffs are going to affect that no matter what scale that you're at. Um, I'd say something unique to us is, we always want to be able to sell our product to everyone. And there was a time where we wanted to do that, where we were selling to florists and event planners who were kind of at a larger scale, and we were selling to wholesalers and mass market. And this was only for, a year or two when we had acquired Continental wholesale florist. And then we realized, well, we can't sell to our customers, because if we're selling to florists, then we're selling to our wholesalers, customers. And for the efficiency and logistics of filling a truck and trying to ship out that product, florist needs are pretty on a weekly, day-to-day basis sometimes for the things that they have to prepare for. And so it was really difficult for us to provide them with product. And so we do not sell to them. We only sell to wholesalers. And when florists reach out, we try to direct them to all the different wholesalers that are in their area so they can still get our product and ask for it. And of course, we want to share our product with them. But we just want to make sure that it's done the right way. And so I think at our scale, one day we do wish that we could have, some sort of direct to consumer brand. That's not off the table to have that, where people could buy something online from us. I would love to be able to set that up for us. But for right now, it's just kind of that mass market wholesale scale. So I think as you grow your business, you're just always having to reassess your customers, because sometimes your customers aren't good for you too. Because for us, we weren't making money off of selling to florists as much as we wanted to. And so we had to cut them out. And sometimes you have to make those hard decisions along the way.
That's such an important reminder for all of us to look at that, especially as we're coming to the end of the year and looking at what worked and what didn't for this year, because it can be hard to let go of something. But if it's costing you money or not making sense, that's so important to do. How long ago did you guys let go of your florist accounts?
It was probably 5-6 years ago.
It's been a while now. Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
We keep going back to you being the largest flower farm in the country, which is a really unique thing, because right now there's this movement of a lot of small scale farms and people are serving their local communities. How do you see CF Green's role in shaping the future of the floral industry in the US?
That's a great question. I think something that's become very apparent and important for us is partnering with other people in the industry. And, we have a lot of connections and friends, and we're lucky because we're not growing roses. So we're not directly competing with the rose grower. So a lot of the times our products pair really well with someone who grows flowers. And it's really fun and easy for us to partner with them and to both help each other grow and to sell more. And that's all we really want for the industry, is just to sell more flowers and for people to be buying them every day. And so that was kind of the partnership that came to fruition this last year with Kendall Farms. They're great friends of ours. They're huge growers in California that have beautiful operations. And we have a lot of product that really pairs well together. And they do some of the same products that we do. But when we come together on a farm together, we're able to offer our customers more, because now we can say, hey, we have a bouquet with Continental Floral Greens, and then we have some of Kendall Farms' beautiful flowers that are used in the bouquet too. So it offers more to our customers, and it benefits both companies. So I think leveraging those relationships is really important for growing your business, and I think it's really healthy for the industry as a whole. And then for us, just being really involved in the community and in different organizations across the community, and, being a part of those associations or organizations, it's also really helpful to the business, because you receive so much information and insights into the marketplace and what's going on and what's happening with other growers, what's happening with wholesalers, what's happening with the grocery stores. So you really learn a lot from being in those associations. And then now we're finally at the stage where we're really influencing a lot that goes on in those groups. And I'm on the board for Sustainabloom and That Flower Feeling. So there's a lot of those great groups. And I think for us, it's important to continue being a voice in the industry and a voice for things like Sustainabloom and things that we really value and that align with our company values too. So I'd say that's important. Did I answer your question?
You did. That was great. I love that you mentioned the collaboration piece, because it helps everyone go further. I'm curious, is there a way for smaller farms to collaborate with you?
Yes, of course. We love working on collaborations. I'd say a good example of that is we did a workshop last year. And of course, we want to keep hosting workshops. We were not able to this year, but we're always sponsoring and sending out products for events like that. But we'd love to, if we're like, we hosted a workshop with a lot of our own product, but we don't grow every flower, especially in the fall. So we needed flowers to be used in the workshop too. And we are super open to working with other farms and including their product in events like that and supporting other American grown farms. And I think that's important too, is being a community of American growers. It's hard to be an American grown farm. And we know that there's a lot of competition and pressure on us. But I think coming together and promoting each other's products and businesses is really important. And it can be hard to do, and to let down those boundaries. But we are super open to that. And I think, if people were ever to reach out, we would always love working with anyone and hearing their ideas and feedback.
Are you the one in the company that handles those collaborations?
Yes, I do, which is
You
a very
are,
fun
so
job.
anyone listening to this podcast that's got a light bulb going off can follow up with you after this
Of
conversation.
course. Yes.
Awesome. Well, I want to ask you a few personal questions. My
Mhm.
first question for you on a personal level is, have you worked in any of the fields?
I have not gotten my hands dirty enough, I wouldn't say. I do visit and get to see our farms all the time. That is the one downside of being pretty spread out across the country, is, we're not in an office right on one of our farms, so I can't walk
Sure.
out and play and be in the product every day. But I try to visit them a lot, and I love getting to see all the product on the farm. And it's very grounding to visit the farms, I feel, when I'm on them. But I do need to learn how, harvesting, like if you actually go out there and do it with someone, you appreciate it so much more and realize how hard it is. I do a lot of the design side and helping with, like, how do you use the forsythia in something? So I've played with a lot of the product, and even that is so humbling. I'm not a florist. I'm not an artist like that. And so when you see what people are putting together, the influencers in the space, I'm always so amazed at what they can do. And you just appreciate it more. So
I think that's awesome that you're getting out in the field and seeing what your team is doing. What inspires you most about working in floral culture?
I think just going back to land ownership, and being a steward of the land, I think is really beautiful, and taking care of, God's beautiful world and nature, and making sure that it can last for our kids' generation, and that it's even better when they have it, and that you're taking care of the wildlife and the soil. And so that is really what inspires me. And that's why being on the farms is one of my favorite things, when I can go out to them, and getting to walk them and see the product and see how beautiful it is. And all of that product is going to bring someone else joy. You're touching so many people's lives with your product, and flowers just bring joy and happiness to everyone. So how could you not love that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just talking with someone yesterday who was visiting our farm, and we were talking about the ripple effect, that we don't even know how far that ripple goes once the flower leaves your farm or your operation. That, I mean, you don't know, like, it could be going to a wedding or a
Mhm.
graduation, and then who at that wedding might see those flowers, that it brings them joy outside of the bride and groom or the couple. So it's really
Yes.
quite the ripple effect that we all are creating. Do you have a favorite crop or flower that you grow at CF Greens?
Well, I would probably again go back to my favorite farm, and because it's the product that got us started, is the noble fir. I just think it's so beautiful, and our product is so special to me because it's how our family got started. It's the heart of the operations, and feeling and seeing that product just smells like Christmas, and you're just bringing so people joy for the holidays and gifting someone a wreath. I mean, I love being able to give our products to people and the joy that it brings, and they can see it for, sometimes up to a month in their house, and bringing that space, kind of that Christmas feel. And noble fir to our product is really special because when the volcano blew up, it's volcanic soil up on that farm. So our trees are a special color. They're a silvery blue that no one else's are. And it's special to at that elevation. It's only grown there. We're the only growers of it. It's trademarked. And so that is also special because it's a really unique color. And it's just kind of the icon of our, the mascot of our company, I'd say, is the noble fir.
I love that. And I think it's so unique because when you think of someone in the floral culture, I immediately go to flowers, but the greenery is such an important piece of it too.
Yeah. People forget about greenery, but it's the foundation for every bouquet arrangement and installation. But everyone wants to, go to the ones that draw your eyes. But greenery is so important, And we're always trying to educate on that too, and the different ways you can use it. And it's so much more resilient and it lasts a long time. And so we're always encouraging people to work with it more too.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I remember my first year of growing flowers, I focused so much on the focal flowers. And then when I had to make my CSA bouquets, it was like, oh crap, I don't have enough greens to fill my bouquets. And so then you start overstuffing it with your focals. And so over the years, I've learned how important it is to have plenty of filler and greenery because they really elevate that bouquet. And I mean, especially like scented greenery. I've been using a lot of scented geraniums right now, and my customers come back every week and they're like, that scent is just unlike anything else.
It leaves an impact. It leaves an impact for sure. And I think too with greenery, I mean, obviously greenery is less expensive too than those focal flowers. And so that's a huge part of our education is saying, well, you know, when you're using more greenery, it's lowering the cost for you as a florist. But typically the person buying it isn't always aware of that too when they're buying it. So it could be as a part of your business is like making this beautiful arrangement that's sturdy that will last longer in their home if it has more greens in it too, and then it's a lower cost to the florist to put together. So that's kind of a part of the model too that we try to preach.
Yes, absolutely. What advice would you give to someone who has dreams of scaling their flower farm?
I would say the most important thing is being resilient. It is so hard to own and run a business. And, you know, I've seen my dad go through it for the last 10 years. There's no easy part of being the CEO and owner. And there's so much pressure and, you know, sleepless nights, but it really, really pays off in the end. And I think in growing it, you just have to go through those ups and downs. We've had a ton of downs and challenges that we've gone through. And just because we're big doesn't mean it's, you know, happy sunny days every day and it's super easy. We got here because we worked super, super hard and having the right people in the right seat. My dad built an amazing team. I love everyone I work with. And that is so important if you want to grow your business is having people that you can trust and rely on. And one of our company values is get shit done, and they get shit done. And you need that to grow your business.
I read the book Who, Not How a couple years ago, and it just hit home on that. Having the right people doing the right jobs will help you figure out the how. It's not how you're going to get there, it's who's going to get there with you. So I love what you said about the people. Looking ahead, what are your hopes for CF Greens and for the cut flower industry in the US for the next 5 to 10 years?
I really hope that as an industry in the next 5 to 10 years, that we're really able to come together and grow the floral industry as a whole. And so, and instead of just saying that broad thing, like an example or solution of that, and something that we're big proponents of is if we were to increase, you know, the revenue for the entire floral industry, no matter where you are and what you grow, or if you're a wholesaler or logistics, is if we were able to get behind another holiday for everyone to get around. So it's not just Valentine's Day and it's not just Christmas. And one of those that is, you know, a huge holiday in Europe is Women's Day. And, you know, celebrating women around the world, and that holiday is bigger for them than Valentine's Day. And in the US, some people talk about it, but it's not really used in the consumer product space, and people don't really push it here. But I think that getting behind a movement like that, where we all together benefit from it, would be huge for the floral industry. And then I think organizations like Sustainabloom, just getting behind the right organizations that align with our values of pushing sustainability and American grown and being a community together that supports each other and educates each other. That's what I would hope to see in the next few years. And for us, is just continuing to grow our product line and bring that joy to customers. And, you know, one of our slogans is innovating through Mother Nature. So we're always working with our products and working with our properties to innovate and bring new things to the marketplace that bring a smile to someone's day.
I love that. Now, International Women's Day, isn't that in May?
Yes.
Which would be such a better time than Valentine's Day for so many of us growers. I love that idea. We have to make that happen, because we could all of a sudden have peonies, we could have ranunculus, tulips, daffodils.
March 8th.
Oh, March 8th.
I think there's two, but yeah, it's March 8th.
March. I knew
so it's still at a hard time.
It's a little bit better than Valentine's Day. Some of those early tulips we need a summer holiday.
Yes. No, we totally need a summer solstice. I mean, we could all make one up together too. I think would also benefit us. Self-care day. That's one that flower feeling got behind. And there's great timing for self-care day because there's a international one and then a national one. And that's an amazing holiday because flowers are self-care. So
Totally. They feed the soul.
yes, they
I
do.
love that idea. Well, we need to find a holiday to make for September when dahlias are at their peak so that everyone can move their dahlias.
Besides weddings, I guess, but probably not as many in Oregon during the summer.
Yeah, we have a lot of weddings, but I mean, other than that around here, there's anniversary parties, which are because of weddings. And
yeah, we've always wanted to get behind back to school because back to school, imagine if you were encouraging kids to bring flowers to their teachers to thank them and to start the school year. So we've always thought that was a really cute idea, which would be great for August and September products.
Yes. There's grandparents appreciation. Maybe we need more grandparents.
It was yesterday.
Yes, we need more grandparents getting flowers.
Yes, we do.
So, well, Madison, this has been really fun chatting with you. Is there anything I haven't asked you today that you want to share with our listeners?
No, I think we covered a lot of fun topics, but I would say, yeah, just follow along. I mean, we are always open to talking with anyone and helping other growers too, and to be there for, advice and to learn from each other. So if whether it's reaching out for a collaboration or they just want to connect and have some advice on growing a business, we are always open to talking. And, we share a lot across our different social media platforms, which is a great way to kind of see new stuff that we're working on and doing. So that's also a way to see what's going on.
Awesome. Well, tell our listeners, where can they find you and CF Greens?
Find the product or me?
Connect with you. So online, what is your website?
Yes, they can always connect. So it's cfgreens.com. So they can connect on there. They can also reach out over Instagram, which is also CF Greens. It's a little bit easier to say than Continental Floral Greens for all those different titles. And then they're also free to reach out to me, which is just Madison Milgard at cfgreens.com too.
Perfect. And we will include links to all of those in today's show notes. This has been so inspiring and so fun to learn about what truly large scale flower farming in the US looks like. And I love your ideas of just growing the industry as a whole and the collaboration piece. So Madison, thank you so much for your time today and good luck with the holiday season.
Thank you, Jennifer. You too. And thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye. Thank you, flower friends, for joining us on another episode of the Backyard Bouquet. I hope you've enjoyed the inspiring stories and valuable gardening insights we've shared today. Whether you're cultivating your own backyard blooms or supporting your local flower farmer, you're contributing to the local flower movement, and we're so happy to have you growing with us. If you'd like to stay connected and continue this blossoming journey with local flowers, don't forget to subscribe to the Backyard Bouquet Podcast. I'd be so grateful if you would take a moment to leave us a review of this episode. And finally, please share this episode with your garden friends. Until next time, keep growing, keep blooming, and remember that every bouquet starts right here in the backyard.